a lot of people who have big words and then fancy talk and want to project and manipulate things and project things that are untrue. You got to be very careful with that and make sure when you're looking for a good business and a good business partner to go in, you have to look at their resume. You have to look at their heart. You have to look at what are they willing to do during the tough times, because the tough times will always expose who's in and who's out.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of The Human Blueprint. My name is Angelo, and we're here with Herman. And today, we want to talk about business, and more specifically, we want to talk about relationships in business, because those are so crucial.
I agree.
So we had someone ask, how do you find the right type of business partner?
So in your view, what do you think in those terms? Because I want you to give your answers, so it's almost like you're speaking for the audience.
So when I think of a business partner, I think of somebody that has to be someone you can trust, has to be somebody who shares similar values, but I also think it's nice to have a business partner that offers something different than you, so you complement each other. So to me, those type of qualities, I think, speak the highest of an ideal business partner.
I'm not going to disagree with you. Those are all great things that you listed. But what happens when you get your spreadsheet or you get your balance sheet and it's showing that there's a negative, it shows that the loan is due, it shows that the money is due? What happens then? But yet you checked off all those boxes you just aforementioned. And what happens when the results show that it's not as favorable to all the other partners or to the people that you're in business with? What happens then?
You have to find the truth.
See, it's the tough times that show the metal of the heart, which shows the true essence of whether the heart can go through the trenches or whether or not the heart will go to the shortcut and go straight for greed. And then you need the tough times to expose that. A lot of times people are in hype. So they'll be like, oh, we'll do this, we'll do that. And they all talk like they're almost a little delusional, where they're always on a high. And when it comes time that they have to come down off the high, it's where the results need to happen. They don't produce because they were on a high or hype, if you will. That makes a lot of people buy that, and they make things sound good, feel good. And you shake their hand, they look you in the eye, and yet they never call you, you never call them, they never return your call, they never return your email. And a lot of times you have to never buy into hype. You see, when I help a lot of my clients, the second they see that you have any form of that hype, they hang up on you. And I'll tell you why. They don't have time for that, because they know the type of person that is acting that way or behaving that way. And when you're acting that way and behaving that way, they don't want to waste their time, because they've went through their trenches and realized, you know what, I've trusted people like that before and they didn't deliver for me. If they only want to talk about hype, materialistic things, talk about what they're going to do with the money they get before they even get it, those are the type of things you don't want with you. You want to make sure people are there for the right reasons, so that when they're there for the right reasons, you never have to think twice. Because the tough times will always expose who's in and who's out.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember I bought off hype back in the day, called network marketing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not here to say I'm against it, but there was so much hype in that industry. And as a young kid, all they have to do is flash some shiny objects and some compensation plan and tell you you got to get 2, and then your 2's got to get 2. And then, so I definitely have bought off hype in the past. So I can relate to that. And I understand that for a lot of people, I think they do run their business on hype, and it's not actually a business, because there's nothing solid or substance to it. It's just an idea, or it's just a fantasy where you want to own your own business or something like that.
So let's use that as an example. They said that you owned your own business, correct, in that network marketing? But that was a lie. You don't own your own business. You still work for the company.
Right.
Because when the company's no longer, how's your business doing?
Right. It's no longer.
It's no longer there. So that's why they need to give you hype, so you don't see the truth. You don't see all the things in between the lines. You don't read between the words, the spaces. You don't see all the stuff that's right in front of you, all the clues. But when you're always buying hype and giving hype and feeding off of hype, it's very difficult to find a good business partner, because those that are very well experienced and have the wherewithal and the experience and the understanding of what it takes to get the results, they don't want people with hype. The only time they want people with hype is if they're on the street to do things that they don't really want to do. But if it's like here at their table, their private table, they don't want hype. They want, show me the results, show me who you are taking care of, show me what we're aiming for, the projections, and then let's aim for that. Let's have a strategy, let's go after that. But if it's about hype, don't waste my time, right?
And I feel like when you're all about the hype, you're gonna attract the people that buy into hype as well.
And a lot of people in that space tend to lie, cheat, project more lies, right? Hurt others to get ahead, right? And how good is that for humanity if all we want to do is buy hype, and at the end of the day, we don't even know who we are or what we're doing. We're just living off of the high, so to speak, of this person gave me a high, or you know what, these people being together gave me a high. But as soon as you're not around that, you drop faster than the temperature in December, right? Right? And so that's why you have to be careful. A lot of people who have big words and then fancy talk and want to project and manipulate things and project things that are untrue, you have to be very careful with that, and make sure when you're looking for a good business and a good business partner to go in, you have to look at their resume. You have to look at their heart. You have to look at what are they willing to do during the tough times, because the tough times will always expose who's in and who's out.
So how can you figure that stuff out
Which
about a
part?
person? Like, because it's one thing to just look at someone's resume and you can check those. I mean, that's pretty clear. But to check someone's character, do you have to go through something with them before? Or do you base that on their reputation or what they've done in the past?
A little bit of both, but that's why a lot of companies hire me out, because they're like, they'll send me a photo, give me, or I'll sit in on a meeting, or I'll see these or listen to tapes or video of how these people perform, and I'm able to tell what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, what they do, what they shouldn't be doing, so that then the company is able to say, you know what, this person talks a big game. This is what they actually show. This person talks less of a game, but this is what they actually show, right? And so you really want to help people get there sooner. And that's why a lot of times when people are so used to everybody just lying, cheating, stealing, and living off of the hype, they don't know truth from fiction anymore, fact from fiction.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you'll be asked a question and then you don't have an answer because you're so confused with fact or to fiction, because your heart says one thing, your mind says another, and you're all confused and you're crosswire. So that's why you have to make sure, like, you better know who you are and what you want to get into in business. Know your market. Understand where you can have that market share. Understand what you can do to go after it or to scale. Understand that if you're going to do that, that the person with you has to have a very good reputation, a very good will to go through the tough times, and a very good understanding that whatever they're bringing to the table from day one, it will never be questioned. Because you know why partnerships go sour?
They don't live up to their word, or they do something.
So let's say you were in charge of marketing and you were great in marketing, you did everything in marketing, but now all of a sudden there's no results. All of a sudden marketing's not as good. All of a sudden there's no strategy. All of a sudden you're not communicating. All of a sudden you're not doing the job you did from day one when you first shook hands and signed on the dotted line. And so if that happens, then you really have to take a real hard look at that person sometimes. And sometimes people are leaving you clues earlier and earlier.
Yeah.
But sometimes we're blind to it and we let it go for too long.
And that's why the guidance is so important.
Exactly.
Because some things you just can't see. Some things I can't see.
It's like when you drive a car, the reason why is it that your windshield is so big and then the rearview mirror is so tiny? Do you know why? Why didn't they put the rear view mirror so big and then the windshield very tiny?
Because you need to see what's in front of you.
Because the things behind you don't matter as much. And a lot of people, when they're in business, they focus on all the bad things that happen to them or all the learning lessons as opposed to what's right in front of them to move forward. It's like you have blind spots too. Exactly. Not everybody can see theirs. So that's why you need a little help to make sure that those blind spots are taken care of, that you're never wasting time in the rearview mirror, and understand the reason why objects are closer than they appear on the mirror. It's because you're not supposed to be looking there for a long time. You're supposed to be looking straight.
Yeah.
Right?
So let's switch it a little bit. Like, okay, we talked about finding the right business partner, but what about, are you the right business partner?
But that's the thing.
Can everybody be in business, or are there certain people that have certain characteristics that are better? Are there certain people that just flat out, like, their personality type and their circumstances, their characteristics, like maybe they're not meant for owning a business?
Not everybody is meant to own their own business. There's a client I helped. They own their own company. It was a food restaurant, whatever you want to call it. They did food. And they only know food. So they only know how to cook it, know how to prepare it, know how to get it done. That's all they know. Food, 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 food. It's like, okay, so you know food. But what about all the other things? They don't know marketing. They don't know as well customer service. They don't know how to scale because they only have one location. They don't know how to do outreach, which means being able to gain the traction or the audience. How are you going to get more business other than just the clientele that you already have?
Right.
A little difficult, right? So sometimes a lot of people don't realize when they're in business, just because you eat food doesn't mean you need to be a chef. Just because you like food, it doesn't mean that you're going to be the chef. Just because someone likes driving doesn't mean they know how to drive F1 cars, right? Just because someone enjoys flying and go to places doesn't mean they should be a pilot. Do you understand? So a lot of times you have to really be realistic and humble to say, you know what? I have the tools that I can perform, that yes, I can start my own business. But this is why. And then you have the strategy, then you have the right partnerships, then you have the right back-end and capital, then you have the right, projections, so you can scale, and then you have the ability that you can ensure long-term growth. Sometimes people do so much for the short-term burst growth. Long-term, they say, you know what, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So short-term growth all dried up. Long-term growth, they didn't have a vision for or prepare for. And what happens in life when you don't have any preparation?
You fail.
And so why do you think most businesses in this country fail?
They're not prepared.
They are not prepared. They are financially illiterate. They are people illiterate. And they are personal illiterate, which means they're going through things they don't understand, but they'll bury. They'll go through things that they'll just internalize and never vocalize. And what they choose to vocalize is not always in the right manner or the right time to share it. So then you're not building bridges, you're actually burning them. And so if we talk in business and you really want to grow your business, or you want to see if business is right for you, you have to really be open to the honest answer. That if I was right in front of you and you laid out your plan and you said, this is what I want to do, and we broke it down and says, you know what, this is not really the greatest idea, but maybe you should pivot into something else, but you're sold on only your plan, it can only go so far. Because you need to have someone that has the vision to see the 5-year, the 10-year, the 20-year, to say, you know what, this is what you need to do for that 5-year, 10-year, 20-year. And then once you go through that, you have to embrace every lesson that comes to you. Everyone in business says, oh, you know what, I lost money. Oh, poor me. How are you going to make the next quarter better when you're just focusing on the rearview mirror? You learn from it. Okay, well, why didn't we do this? Well, we lost all these customer base. We lost all these subscribers. We lost our foothold on this share of the market. We have a new competitor. Oops, it dried up. What are we doing now to own it again? If we owned it before, we can do it once. We could do it again. And for a lot of people in business, the second they get bitter or the second they have a bad taste in their mouth, they quit. They give up. And the biggest, I would say the wealthiest people on this planet, they never did.
Right.
They kept knocking on that door. They kept pursuing. They kept preparing. So that finally when technology caught up with them, or finally the ability to find the right people, caught up with them. They match the preparation with the opportunity.
Exactly.
Make sense?
And too many people are giving up too soon, and they
Way
don't
too
have
soon.
the right game plan,
No, they
the
do
right
not.
strategy. Because I mean, how much time would that save you? If let's say you had a business plan, like how much time would it save you if you were able to share it with somebody who is so knowledgeable and who could give you the right steps, the right things to red flags to look at, the right things to think about?
So I helped another client. They had a franchise also in food, okay? So they thought because it's a big franchise, they're just going to be instant money makers. They're going to be printing money. So they spend a very significant amount of money to buy into this franchise. They had to spend a lot of significant hours of no sleep, do this, do that, to fill the roles that they needed to fulfill before you're able to open the franchise and the training. And the problem was they didn't do a lot of research. So they think they checked off all the boxes, but just like in real estate, what's the most important part of real estate, Angelo?
It's the location.
Location, location, location. So if all the cars see you, but they have no access to you, or it's very inconvenient, or that it cannot be seen from a very popular space, doesn't matter how good that franchise is, the well is going to dry up. Right? They didn't do enough research. They had to close up. But all the money they took the loan for didn't go away.
Right. It's not cheap either.
But you see, they were buying hype, right? They go to the sales, whatever you want to call, sales call, and all these people who are interested in buying the franchises, then they were sold the hype. And then when they buy that hype, then they realize they didn't take the necessary steps to get rid of hype out of the equation and have realism right in front of you. Then what happened? They couldn't cross that bridge. It broke because they didn't do enough research. Because location was everything. If you don't have the customer base or the clientele with enough advertising, with the easement of people to come in and out of your establishment, very, very difficult for your place to even make a profit. Very difficult.
I think one of the key things that we're talking about is hype.
Yeah.
In this episode. So that's like one of my takeaways is never buy on hype. Because just as quick as you get excited, that excitement will leave you.
You have to be level-headed to see what's fact from fiction, to know what is long-term view versus short-term view. But if you're emotionally distraught and you're blinded by the hype, then you are not literally understanding the long-term vision, the short-term vision, the strategy to get there from point A to point B. And so that's why for a lot of people we help, we have to remove hype from the equation because so many people have bought it.
Well, I think that was pretty thorough of how to find the right business partner. And if you have questions or if you want to seek the guidance and the help, then just reach out to us. You can send us an email at support and it'll be linked in the description. But I know that it's a huge time saver. You know, if you could take away like the pain and the agony of wasting time, wasting money, hurting relationships, like what's that worth?
So let's say the franchise cost $500K plus interest. How much would be to have the right guidance to make sure you can pay that off versus worrying about a few pennies? Do you understand?
Exactly. Yeah. And even if you're somebody who's looking at that and that may seem good, well, what if there's somewhere else you could put your money or somewhere else you can establish something that maybe has better fortunate outcomes rather than all of the debt that you carry?
Correct. And then you have to learn to make sure that when you're going through this, you do it for the right reasons. I've seen so many people in business just do it for the money, 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 money. They get the money, but they are not good caretakers of it. And a fool and his money shall soon part. And so because they're not a good caretaker of it, they don't have much to show for it. Even though, let's say the company was profitable, even though they claim to have the perfect life, if you're not good caretakers of your health, your wealth, then you'll have nothing to show and you'll never be happy.
So it's more about just making money. It's more about just being in business. It's really it's really your life. That's what I've realized. And that's why for me, like, I used to always think, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, I'd be a great entrepreneur. But today, like, I really don't truthfully think that. I think I'm great in a team that has a greater mission. But for me doing it by myself, I probably would not succeed.
And not everybody has the gene, if you will, to do that. Not everyone has the backbone to handle failure after failure after failure after failure, right? Not everyone has the mental capacity to handle all the rejection every single time they see. And so that's why for a lot of people, they're sold that, oh, you want to be your own boss because you don't want to take orders. But sometimes you need to learn in that experience, in that field, so you can understand the full capacity of how it works. So that when you finally go out on your own, you see all the weaknesses, and then that's where you put your business first to cover up those weaknesses. And then that's what you make as your priority. So that when your business goes out and covers up those weaknesses, you provide the solution for that. All of a sudden, you own that market share. But if you didn't get the experience, you would never know what it needed. Then you could never know what to offer.
Right.
Make sense?
Wonderful. Do you have any last thoughts that you want to share
If
with everybody?
If this interests you and you want more of these types of videos and you appreciate these types of videos, I mean, like, subscribe, right? Turn on notifications.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly. So be sure to like and subscribe, and also leave a comment below and let us know if you're in business. Let us know. Let us know like what your greatest learning lesson has been, or any questions that you have that you want to see us cover. And always keep in mind that if you're ready to take yours to the next level, then Herman's the person to talk to.
Thank you.
Thanks.